Hello everyone. It is your hostess, Horror&Hellfire, and we are here to complete the first year of receipts for the Cafe and Diner archive. Though this is going to be split in two videos because, as you can see, this is a knowledge one, meaning I have to go look into it. So I will do that one as a separate video after this one. And this one will cover SFE receipts 1 through 4. Let us begin, as this one doesn't require a password. My very first receipt, it is quite the occasion, no? Though I find myself at a loss for words, what is there to say except how exciting it is to start our little cafe and diner together. I could hardly think of two better partners to work with, though while the three of us are quite capable, I fear we will run ourselves ragged if we do not expand our operations a bit. I know, we must pay our debts, but really, no valami, it will be easier to find people now than later. Perhaps the three of us can serve a customer every few months, but that won't do, will it? Every customer we serve the salt and pepper at the lighthouse will serve 10, 20, perhaps 30. And they won't be lenient. They won't let customers run up their tabs. They'll have them paid in full after each and every service. I've worked there, you know. They do not approach customer relations in the same way we do, and they are not afraid of having poor reviews. In fact, they welcome it. They want to be seen as the singular, unopposable, and indomitable force in the coffee trade. So, if we are to stand up to them, we need help. I know you and your more have outvoted me on this, but I have started to arrange a few meetings. Of course, I won't tell them about the cafe yet, but I would like to get an idea of who in the coffee industry would be willing to work with us in this new pursuit. At least grant me that. I'm not used to so much waiting around, but I suppose I am no longer a part of a well-oiled machine. I'm one of those planning to build a far better one, eh? So this is the first one we see that is not by Baltimore, that is not by 8. This is from the trust associate, the one that's going to be running like the whole machine side of things, running the other company. So it's really interesting to see the outside perspective of this at our very last receipt chain. SFE2. And this one is from Mon Amour. Ooh, it's Lucifer. Gotta love this. I'm excited to see the personality of Lucifer. We've heard so much about Lucy through Baltimore's notes up to this point, and now we're gonna get to see Lucy's perspective. Isn't Mon Amour a sort of strange title? Mon Amour. Sure, I am your love, but I can't be everyone's love, can I? I suppose it'll do for now, but I think we should go with something less personal once we get some more employees, perhaps just numbers. I was thinking, what if each employee had a number that added together was the number? For example, employees 17, 26, 35, 44, and so on. We will need to protect the identity of your employees, after all. So all those together mean 8. 8 is an important number, we know. I know, you told me we can't hire anyone yet. And while I agree with your reasoning, I also agree with your associate. We can't just run this cafe as the three of us. But I will at least give you until the cafe itself is finished. It really wouldn't do to have people see the state of our current mess. If we were going to make any impact at all in the coffee trade, we need to at least appear to have everything together. Our customers will be quick to point out any flaws in our operations. Speaking of customers, I've picked a few out. Nothing major, and mostly customers from my neck of the woods. Mr. Mean, Mr. Andros, and Mrs. Berkeley. I like to get Mr. Mean fed and sent home before the S&P catches on to their appearance in Death Valley. Mr. Andros can probably handle himself, though, due to his unique way of interacting with servers. I fear the S&P will want to abuse his good nature. And lastly, Mrs. Berkeley has been spotted in, believe it or not, Berkeley. I don't really care if the S&P serves Mrs. Berkeley before we do, but someone should take care of her before she overstays her welcome. Interesting. So like I said before when I was explaining what these all mean, the Mrs., Mr., Miss name is all of the different code names for the different cryptids that are being, found and put back in the other realm or back into hell. So we're seeing the first bit of back and forth for the actual cryptids involved in this. That's SFE2. Here's SFE3. This one is expected wages. If you go to CAD03, which is what they give, it says, and yes, I know they work for free. So one word, should be free. Yep, and we're back to the trusted associate. All right, novel ami. I have paid a few visits to some notable figures in the supernatural world who might be willing to join us once the time is right. Of course, due to my status as a pariah, I couldn't really ask anyone with strong ties to the agency, especially anyone with ties to the Zulus. Though I figured we wouldn't want them on our side anyway, yes? Having potential spies or traitors among us won't do us any good. I would agree with that. First among my picks is Sahir Bali, an old contact I had at the agency. But make no mistake, Sahir has no formal ties to the Astorians. In fact, he makes it a point to have no strong ties to anyone or any organization for fear of burning bridges and closing off what he calls connections. Next, we have Marcus Douglas. He's a bit of an outsider like us, but he is the devout warlock of Ladam Lucifer. I am certain he would jump at the chance to aid in an organization created by his very own patron. Another possibility would be Madeline Saturn. She was a test subject of the agency, so she already harbors a good deal of contempt for them, and she has quite impressive psychic powers as well. Lastly, I got in touch with Daniel Hamilton, the caretaker of West Virginia. Pulling him away from his work in West Virginia might prove difficult, but he holds no other allegiances that would prevent him from joining our cafe. Of course, these are just some early suggestions. I assume that when you are ready to pick out some employees, you will have your own suggestions. Not to mention your tendency to assume any decision to be made was already decided, But if you would like me to arrange a meeting with Bali, Douglas, Saturn, or Hamilton, just say the word and I will see it done. Interesting. Things are moving along rather quickly, it seems. And the last one we have for this is Mrs. Berkeley in Baltimore. This is research. I already did a little bit of research on my own, and what I did is I looked up Berkeley cryptids. First thing, nameless thing of Berkeley Square. So I'm gonna assume nameless thing. Bam. Look at that. Last one from Moore in this particular video. While Felix has been keeping himself busy looking for employees, I've been working on getting us our first customers. As mentioned in my previous receipt, I've got 3 potential customers already in mind. Mr. Min, the Min Lights, Mr. Andros, the Chick Charney, and Mrs. Berkeley, the Nameless Thing. Haha! Each of those are cryptids and demons from my plane, the Morning Star, and so returning them should prove exceptionally easy. All I'd have to do is get close enough to touch them, and that should be enough to send them home. Though, that isn't what makes for a good first customer, is it? It almost feels like cheating if our first customer already belongs in my domain. With or without the cafe, I could have already dealt with the Min Lights, Chick Charney, and the Nameless Thing on my own. Of course, my siblings rarely bother with fetching absconding souls themselves. In fact, Satan tries his damnedest to send his boogeymen into the flip side. But with all that said, I've been doing some research into some other cryptid and demon sightings we could investigate first. And while I would love nothing more than to deal with our greatest tormentor, Miss Cadillac, I think we should aim a bit lower for our first case. We will deal with Miss Cadillac, my love, I promise. But no, Miss or Mrs. customers. Not yet. An easy, friendly, stray Mr. would be perfect. And I think I found just the cryptid. Mr. Perez, a chupacabra, has been spotted around San Diego. A chupacabra would make for the perfect first cryptid, as no prince of hell has true domain over them, and they're often quite friendly. Plus, we need to figure out which of the 7 planes he escaped from, which adds a nice bit of challenge. So we've already got an establishment here of the kind of levels for trouble that you could find with these particular cryptids. I'm assuming that Miss is the very highest, with Mrs. being underneath that, and the least troublesome being the Misters. Our first one looks to be Mr. Perez, a chupacabra, which is very fitting because that's probably one of the most infamous cryptids you could think of. Everybody's heard of a chupacabra. But with that, I am done with this particular set of receipts. I will do the last one in the next video. So until then, sweet nightmares. I wanted to take this time to thank my Patreons and channel members. Your support is so greatly appreciated and I can't thank you enough. If you'd like to become a Patreon, there is a link in the description below, and if you'd like to become a channel member, just go ahead and click that join button and join the Truth Sleuths and Horror Hounds. All channel members and Patreons receive 24-hour access to videos prior to their public release and exclusive updates on my progress. After a certain tier, you can request that I do a certain topic or movie review, or you can even request that I do a game live stream, whichever works for you. At the highest tier, you not only get to choose the topic in which I cover, you get to either co-host the stream or the video that I do that covers said topic, no matter if it's one or multiple. Of course, this is not obligatory. If you want to support the channel, I greatly appreciate it, and once again, thank you so much.